Joes.
Welcome to the Regular Joes podcast. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry Kay.
And I'm Todd Pleasant.
We have two-ish things today. What did we do last week? We had a lot last week, right?
Yeah, we had Brian on last week.
Prop store auction.
Daredevil and prop store auction. And
after that show, we're not going to get into. Brian texted episode 4, the worst yet.
Okay. So let's just be clear on something. He's never seen the original series.
And he said Todd sucks too.
Yeah. So
that was just to me and Barry.
It's like he's got no context for this. And yeah, anyways. I happen to think it's fine. So
fine.
It is fine. That's the
you
problem.
Watch,
It is
did
fine.
you guys both watch the episode?
Yes.
I have seen
Okay.
it, yes.
Okay. If we don't see some red in this episode, I am going to be astonished. Okay.
The next, I mean,
because where it left off.
The way it
but
ended
I will say
was
this,
better.
Okay.
it answered our questions about like what are these. Well, it certainly answered the Fisk question. What's he up to?
Right now we know why his hands are
you got
bruised.
both people to both of the protagonist and the antagonist to the starting block. You now know that Fisk is not going to reform himself. Okay, well, no, I'm not going to say that. Spoiler. And Matt's itching to get back in the saddle. So,
it's funny that he's having like a gluttony fest. Was he anorexic and then just throws it up later to stay thin? I don't know.
So
I'm going to agree with what you said. It's fine. It needs to be more than fine. It needs to be more than fine.
Okay. So Barry, in this, I will say this to you on this regard. Okay. You have to defend this because I defended Andor while every other person in the universe was saying it's so slow. It's taking too long. This is exactly pacing the same way. It's slowly kind of working the story out.
Andor was slow.
What's that? That's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying,
you know what? On I'm rewatching Andor. It doesn't feel slow at all in a rewatch
because you know what's happening. Okay, you're not waiting for something to happen. It's different on a rewatch.
You know nothing's going to happen. That's why it's so slow.
I'm saying
that's why it's not slow.
That's all I need.
This is different than episodic television.
Too thin,
which is what we were raised on, and what we expect. And we expect a conclusion with it to something within 48 minutes. I think this is a lot more of what we're going to see, where it's laid out like chapters in a book, where you make a little bit of progress and you see something happen, and then all the pieces come together.
These are the books you make me read. What was that crappy book I read that nothing happened? The Sparrow something?
Oh, that was a great book.
It's a horrible book.
Barry,
I need you to read it. They're going to make a
movie of it. Anyways,
I'm only saying this to be provocative, but it reminds me a little bit of Discovery. I don't need couples therapy in my Daredevil. I really don't.
Yeah, but that's also okay. You learned a lot you learned things from the couples therapy.
But it's like 10 minutes of them in therapy. Way too long.
Yeah.
Way too long. Let's take out 8 minutes and have 8 minutes of something red. Something, but it should not take. We're going to
get plenty of that.
Episode 5 of 9 to get Daredevil in Daredevil.
Okay, and again, like you said, we mentioned last week, we had an entire episode of watching him build gizmos to go on the Death Star. It's like it's just a different way of telling the story.
I thought that was slow too.
In the end, we're going to look. I will say.
I find it odd that you've got to tear down my precious Star Wars in order to defend your Daredevil show.
Barry, because I'm saying, Barry, you owe me on this one because I was the one backing you the whole time when Brian was saying it was too slow and Dave was saying it was too slow. I said,
I don't even remember.
Go Andor. With it. I do. Go with it. And okay, you'll see, Barry. This is going to come around. Okay,
we're doing things with
holding the crystal
skulls
up. Yeah. That's all.
Anyway,
and doing other gestures.
We'll talk more about Daredevil in the
when
future
it gets
show.
good.
But today, today,
So
as you listen, we're going to talk about the Electric State movie on Netflix, right? Netflix. The Russo Brothers. Interesting. Talk about interesting, controversial. There's some good trailers, speaking of Andor. But let's do some quick-ish random. Todd, what do you got?
Okay. So, Avengers Doomsday. Charlize Theron might be in it. Elizabeth Olsen might be in it. And Tom Hiddleston might be in it. And you know what? This movie is not coming out in June of next year.
I saw that May 1st, it said.
No freaking way are we going to see. If they don't know who's in the cast. And
well, they're rumoring.
No, but
stuff.
I'm saying
that's
but again, okay. It's like
there's so many other problems.
There's pictures out there of everything being filmed on location. Okay, unless they're filming this thing entirely in a volume and have sworn everybody involved in this to secrecy, which Marvel's never successfully done, they haven't started this film yet. So
I don't know. I can't go down the road of Robert Downey Jr. I think it's awful. But,
yeah, we've covered that territory.
Elizabeth Olsen doesn't need to be in this movie, and neither does Loki. I'll take Charlize Theron, but
I mean, yeah, because I like her as an actress, but her character was a blip in a post-credit scene.
It was a blip. It's also kind of. She's also kind
of. Well, they were introducing her, so that's fine.
But just at a drive-by, very much attached to Doctor Strange. And supposedly he's not in the first film. He's in the second film, not the first film. So he said that, and then afterwards said, "Oh, I'm supposedly not supposed to say that.
I'm not supposed to say anything, right?"
I don't think we have a clue of what's going on.
I don't think they have a clue of what's going on.
I was going to say, and I don't think they do either. So,
yep,
a mess. And I'm going to jump in because I have something. Jonathan Majors has said he'd like to go back to Marvel if they'd have him. They're not having you. No.
Yes, there's like a special waiting room for you and Gina Carano.
Yeah, exactly.
You just sit. There's a bench on either side. The two of you sit there and just wait for someone to come for you.
And that's a good bench to sit on because she'll kick his ass.
Yeah. Well, again,
yes.
Yeah. We'll call you. We'll call you when you're in the. We'll call you when we need you section. It's
and we'll never need you. So
I never saw a studio drop an actor so fast. Once that court ruling came down.
Whatever. I mean, should they? Probably, but his character sucked so bad that I'm glad
it's
it
hard.
happened.
It's hard for me as a Marvel fan to be super disappointed about that change because I wasn't being blown away by what they had done so far.
I'm glad something happened because if he had never done that, we could have just had a disaster on our hands, and we still may.
We still may.
Yeah.
I will say there's a lot of really good things you can do with Kang. They went to bat like 3 times and didn't do any of those things. So I got to think like maybe the good stuff was being held back for Kang Dynasty, but we'll never know. So.
Well, and I think that there might have been some good Kang stuff in the third Ant-Man movie, but it was such a bad movie that it just didn't really happen.
It wasn't really.
They dropped the ball with Kang.
That was all. That was prelude. The stuff in Loki was prelude. It just,
the stuff in Loki was unwatchable. That sort of stuttering version of Kang just was like I just couldn't.
And
figure it out.
It doesn't matter who the bad guy is. 95%, 85% of the people didn't know who Thanos was. They just had to develop him the right way. They just dropped the ball on developing characters.
Yeah.
So, Barry, what do you got?
For whatever reason, I find this stuff interesting. So Deadline reported that Apple TV Plus is losing $1 billion a year on their streaming service.
Yes.
They spent $5 billion annually on streaming. They made attempts to cut that down this past year by $500 million. But don't feel bad for Apple because their overall revenue for 2024 was $391 billion. So that's
what I'm saying. That's what
a rounding error.
They're the biggest company in the world. I think
somebody
they're the
else
biggest company
mentioned
in
this
the
to
world.
me the other day, and I said yes. And at that rate, they're going to go out of business in about 250 years.
Yeah, it's a rounding error in their overall balance sheet. So like everybody who's writing articles about this and saying, "Oh my God, they're losing so much money." No, they're not.
Exactly, and they more than any other company, with the exception of Disney, can afford to ride it out. So
they're worth $3.3 trillion.
This is what I'm saying.
Company.
So they can,
and they need a write-off.
They can keep
That's all
running
it is.
They can keep losing $1 billion a year if gradually they become known as the the premier provider and creator of this stuff. And
let's face it, when you look at their catalog
every single year.
Look at their catalog of originals. They've had some very successful shows, but most of their shows aren't hugely successful, but they're acclaimed. Or they find interesting fan bases. Like For All Mankind is a good example. Nobody else would make that show.
Yeah, exactly.
They could
even
lose
Amazon.
What did you say they could lose that for? They could lose $1 billion a year for 3,000 years.
Well, again, I'm saying, it's like it's not. This is not a thing for them. I pulled 250 years out of my head, but it's yeah.
They'll just make a new color of iPhone, and they'll make way more money back than they're losing on.
It's crazy. I saw one of these. You ever see these? Sort of, I don't know if it's a meme or a video. It showed the value of companies. I think it showed the value of the 20 largest companies in the world, and they were on these rising bar graphs.
Yep.
And some, there's all the companies, whatever, General Motors and blah, blah, blah. And you get to Apple, and the thing is rising for so much longer than anything else because it's worth $3.3 trillion.
Yeah, it's nuts.
There's a line in Citizen Kane where his accountants are trying to tell him that he's got to get out of the newspaper business because he's losing like $50,000 a year or something like this. And he says, at that rate, in 100 years, I'll be broke. So, yeah. Yeah.
So, what are you going to do? What else did I have? Oh, so what do I have here? Oh, I guess they do a TCM movie festival, and George Lucas is presenting Empire Strikes Back at this festival. We should go, but it's in Hollywood. I guess he's showing up, and it was. I guess someone was. Maybe it was the props guys talking. What's he going to show? Of course, he's going to show the special edition. He's going to show the
special edition. That's his.
Even though Empire's the least of.
Oh yeah, that's the one that they touched the least.
Special edition. There's almost nothing in there.
It's got the extra wampa scene.
He doesn't get out of
and.
Yeah,
right. Extra wampa scene. They cleaned up some of the matte lines, and that's about it in Empire.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That would be cool because you don't see him out a ton.
No, well, he was on the Kennedy Center Honors earlier in the year for Francis Ford Coppola, and that was the first time I'd seen him in a while.
Yeah. Interesting. But, that'll be at I think it's in April. I'm sure every nerd is out there lining up to get his autograph.
Yeah, I don't think he's signing autographs anymore.
I think I'm good.
I had one other quick one. I think we might have talked about it previously, but they've now officially greenlit Ted Lasso for season 4 with the entire main cast returning. Jason Sudeikis was interviewed, and he said they're writing it now. And spoiler alert, he said Ted is coaching a women's team in this season. So, interesting. I mean, it makes sense. Is he not going to be
in England, I wonder?
He left the...
No, when the show ended, they were starting a women's team. So...
But he was back in Kansas.
But I guess he's coming back to coach that women's team.
There's got to be some kind of time jump because they did kind of a little fast forward at the end. So,
as long as Roy's in it,
Roy's got to be in it. Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Roy Kent.
You know who's almost as cool as Roy Kent? Fanboy Collectibles. Interestingly, X06 Strange New Worlds Mariner up for pre-order. That's a obscure one, but X06 they're making all kinds of cool stuff.
Well, it makes sense. They did a Boimler, so they might as well do Mariner.
Boimler, yeah, no, that makes sense. But there's other stuff. There's a ton of pops even what's those ones I didn't like? I don't like that movie. Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks.
If you want those,
if you like the Conan movie, you got to check out the Conan the Barbarian statue. It's pretty
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, it is awesome. But there's Sideshow and Hot Toys and Pops and Kotobukiya and So Toys and Hono Toys and some other toys. It's all toys all the time.
That's right.
Check those guys out. FanboyCollectibles.com. Check them out at their store in Newtown, Connecticut. And tell them the Regular Joe sent you. Anyone else doing my commercial?
Oh, so
and also, if you need a
Dave,
display...
Tell us what's going on with From Dave's Workshop.
I don't know if I can actually say what's going on. I got 3 big-ish projects it'll be more than this week. One of them is 60 inches wide display. Wow. So that'll be, if I get approval to talk about them, I'll let you know. Then another one.
So you're getting new clients, which is great, and you're working on really cool projects, which is awesome. So, for all of our listeners out there, if you need a display for a prop, or probably you could do displays for other things besides props and costumes, right?
Replicas too. I make
collectibles.
Yeah. Any replicas?
Anything that you've got that you want to. Yep.
I've got a friend I'm making. His grandfather had an ice cream truck in Manhattan in the early part of the 20th century, and he had the bells, and he wants me to make a display for the bells. So,
see, there you go. That was exactly my point. Displays for anything that you want to protect and display and keep from getting people touching it or whatever, or you want a plaque to display next to it, check out From Dave's Workshop.
Thank you.
Tell
From
him
Dave's Workshop.
The Regular Joe sent you.
Tell me the Regular Joe sent you.
Check out their store in Newtown, Connecticut. No, just kidding.
Yeah, don't tell them where I live.
Well, they will have to get your address to ship it to you. Or maybe you, for all I know, you're using a P.O. box, so I don't want to say that. I don't know what I'm saying. Cut this out, Dave.
No, it's fine. I will give you my address if you ship something to me, but pay me first. So there you go. Anyway, a couple trailers trailers, and then we're going to talk about Electric State. We were talking about Andor. I think, there have been 2 trailers for Andor? Or
the one that came out today was the second trailer, yeah.
I think this one looks better than the first one. Yes. This one's ominous. It's got a lot of cool stuff. Quick snippets of a lot of cool stuff.
I like that the first
one
had
that. All of which will happen in the
music.
latter episodes of the season, because the first ones are going to be really slow. Continue. Go ahead.
Yeah. I like that the first trailer had the rock music and maybe didn't feel all that Star Wars-y, and this one feels very Star Wars-y.
Yeah. I think there's more stormtroopers than we've seen in a long time. Well, right? Did we see a ton of stormtroopers in season 1? I don't even remember.
There were a handful.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I think during the Aldani heist, maybe we saw some, but not that many. We saw Imperials. We saw more Imperials than Stormtroopers.
Yes, I think more Imperials. But there's Stormtroopers running and red lights, and
I think it looks great. Square, at the end there were Stormtroopers that showed up.
Yeah. But this just So Tony Gilroy did something on YouTube. Was it last week or the week before? For like an hour, they broadcast a thing where he talked about season 1 and he talked with a bunch of the actors, and it was interesting. I didn't learn a ton. They didn't say anything really about season 2. It was mostly recap of season 1, but you can tell because he's been very vocal. He's not a Star Wars guy. He didn't grow up a Star Wars guy, and he worked on Rogue One, and he's very into this show, but he's not like a total fanboy like Favreau or Filoni. And again, nothing against them, but he's kind of come to it from a different point of view, and I think that he's super excited about season 2. So, it's showing in all of the interviews I've seen him doing and in everything. I mean, so not as we record this, as this show goes live, we're 25 days away from season 2. I'm doing the countdown now, Todd.
Yeah.
The Daredevil countdown.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm rewatching season one.
Wait. As we record this, we're one day away from maybe something good happening on Daredevil. No, I'm joking.
So I am also I'm gonna rewatch Andor rewatch it before, and
I guess I could try
again.
that.
I liked it better than a whole lot of people. I think it's honestly, I think it's probably the best made Star Wars we've had on TV. I think in terms of it's also I'm not saying that like the best stories or whatever like that, but it felt like of that universe 100%. It was also the most adult of anything that they've done. I don't feel this is the only thing that they didn't have some angle pitching towards kids, and they didn't care about that at all.
Mandalorian was pretty good.
Well, I know what you're saying. Trying to be objective, because we know I've enjoyed most of what they've done.
Which is not possible.
It's not easy, but I'll try. I think the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian and Andor are the best Star Wars we've gotten since Disney took over.
Yeah, I agree with that. But there's a lot of cool stuff. Do you see that polar bear looking guy?
He was in Rogue One.
He was?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
He was part of Saw
and
Gerrera's
all the
gang.
K2SOs or whatever.
Yeah, that was that room full
of
all the K2s sitting at a table. That looked awesome. I'm super excited for this. I can't wait.
Did you... I was... The blonde girl, the lieutenant or whatever she is, Miro, she looked like she was choking.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what... Do we think we'll see Vader in this?
I hope so. I mean, we know we're seeing Krennic, so it's possible we could see Tarkin or Vader.
That would be pretty cool. That was, I mean, everyone loved that at the end of Rogue One, but I get why we didn't see him in the first, but yeah, I mean...
I think Tony Gilroy, because he's not the fanboy that some other people are, will only do it if it really serves the story. He's not going to do it to be gratuitous.
Be gratuitous. That's what movies are about. Come on.
No, I think that's kind of like your aversion to like Kirk being in Strange New Worlds. I think there's got to be a reason for him to be there. If you shoehorn him in there, it's just like I said, it's a big universe, and the same 8 people show up all the time. I think there's got to. That's what
I get that, but I think it's a little different.
I really liked about this. The first season was like. There were a lot of opportunities they could have shoehorned somebody in there, but they didn't. They gave you new characters, looking at very much the way Rogue One did, looking at the same story from a different angle, and I thought that was really, really well done. So,
yeah, but they're good. We see the Death Star. I mean, Vader's in charge of doing something with the Death Star.
Vader's brought in when things start going badly, when they have the information security issue. And I don't think he's hanging out there while they're building it. I don't think that's
Director Krennic is in charge of building it, and then Tarkin takes credit for it, and then Vader gets brought in.
Takes the project away from him. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Kirk. It's what happens on the Enterprise before Kirk and Spock. Oh, but let's bring in Kirk.
Yeah, it's what happens before. Yeah. Anyways, but like I said,
the other thing that Gilroy said was that we're going to get more backstory on Luthen Rail's character to understand why he's involved in the rebellion, which we really didn't get that, so that'll be interesting.
Okay.
The
Stellan Skarsgård
right?
character, yeah.
That's why I got to rewatch it, because it's been long enough now that like I'm watching that trailer and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember her. It's like, yeah, no, I got to rewatch the thing, but. Like I said, I think it was great. So
12.
Ugh.
It's
how many episodes? Season 1.
12.
Oh, 12. Well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot to watch though right now, do I?
There is not a lot to watch right now. So,
for a show that we keep saying was slow to get started, I watched the first 3 episodes and they flew by. So, I have to.
Were you awake?
I was
watching them.
I was wide awake. Yes.
Reacher ends this week, right? Last Reacher this week.
Yeah, I think we have one more Reacher this week.
Yeah.
I watched Running Point or Running Something. It's Kate Hudson and some basketball. It's funny. It's cute. Has nothing to do with our stuff, but it's cute.
So the next seat over from me on the plane back from Florida was a college kid watching Breakfast Club. And the whole time I'm watching Breakfast Club, I'm just like, how is this guy the guy on Reacher?
My God, I know.
How do you look at Anthony Michael Hall in the Breakfast Club
skull
and get that person to that person? I mean,
is he twice the size? How did his skull grow?
You can look at pictures of any of the three of us at that age and see it.
But you saw it coming. If you watch Edward Scissorhands, he was starting to look like that already by the time he made Scissorhands, and that was 30 years ago.
And again, I also watched the TV series, the Stephen King TV series he did.
But his skeleton itself is just way bigger than it was.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's just like, but it's just amazing.
Went from Farmer Ted to
looking at that, and it's like you can't even look at his eyes and see the same dude. So yeah. Anyways, I am enjoying the show though. I will say I will say next season Reacher should track down his female co-star's vocal coach and kill him.
I'm letting her slide. There's something about her.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I agree
yes,
entirely. But boy, having spent my entire life in Massachusetts, that is the most forced Boston accent that I've ever heard. Yeah,
I agree.
Well, she's British or Australian or something, right? She's not even American.
Irish.
Oh, I knew she was
not even. Yeah. And they do that a lot of times. They'll put a Southern accent on somebody, or they'll put a regional accent on somebody to get rid of the British accent or the UK accent, and this it's just really it's brutal. So
some people are much better at it.
Yeah.
Being American.
I tell you, it's fascinating to me whenever you see an interview with Charlie Cox, and you're like, what?
Charlie Cox, I think the most shocking is the dude from The Americans.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's voice is so completely different.
You put him, Charlie Cox, and the 10th Doctor together, and with their normal accents, and it's just like your jaw just hangs open. So, yeah.
All right, there was another trailer.
Ballerina. Did you guys watch the Ballerina trailer?
Jane Wick.
There was another. This one is another second trailer that's got way more going on with it.
Yes.
I thought it looks good. I mean, who doesn't like Ana de Armas? I don't know.
I will say
somebody.
I'm not sure I would have put her in a red evening gown and had her do the fight thing because that's kind of been done. Didn't that really look like a callback to the Bond film?
She was in black in that.
Oh, was she in black in that? Okay.
She's in an evening gown and fighting in 5 different things.
Okay, well that's why. So as soon as I looked at that, I was thinking of another film, which is not.
That's what she does. She was in that. Ghosted, was that it? Ghosted?
Yes. Yep. Ghosted.
Doing the same thing.
Yep.
She had me with the flamethrower.
Oh my God, that flamethrower was awesome.
I love flamethrowers. You put a flamethrower.
But this one looked like
cooking people.
Like
awesome.
Combat flamethrower.
Yeah,
awesome.
That was cool.
That was the coolest scene in the whole trailer.
This is going to be great. She's great, and whatever she's in, she's terrific. I will say, I did not expect to see as much of him.
I was going to say the same exact thing.
I thought he was going to be like a very brief cameo, like warn her off or something like that. And there's a presence here.
I wonder. Now it's funny. He was somewhere, I don't know, and someone asked him is there going to be a John Wick 5? He's like, he's dead. I don't know, because it sounded like when that movie was out, there was there'll be another one. Now it doesn't sound like I heard
this thing the quote that he said was something like, my brain wants to do it, but my knees won't let me, or something. I think
exactly.
Physically, he doesn't think he can do it anymore.
You can't fall down that amount of steps and be fine.
No, I have walked up that set of steps, and I'm telling you, if you fell down that set of steps, you would not get up. regardless of what your suit
how
is
about
made
if
of.
you fell off the third story and hit the balcony of the second story? You'd probably be dead.
I tell you that those are brutal steps, and like I said, so let me ask this: how many movies did Lance Reddick have in the can when he died? Is he just
this one's been out for a while? But let me just finish my point. I'm curious because this thing was supposed to be out already. I wonder if they added more John Wick in with the fact that John Wick's not coming back.
Yeah.
So this, I don't know.
Will they tell us where this fits in the timeline? Because this has got to be like, what?
Well, the Continental still exists, and Lance Reddick is still alive. So
is this like between
John Wick 3 and 4?
You got to judge by the length of his hair and how many fingers he has. I didn't really notice.
I don't know the John Wick movies well enough to be able to place this without some help. I've seen them all, but not multiple times. Yeah. It looks. It looks like a great action movie.
That looks good
and fun.
It really does. It really does. And honestly, if he doesn't come back, and I do not fault him for not coming back, it's like if it could be done in one of those movies, he's done it twice. I hope they find a way to like get more out of this universe because this is very cool.
Well, and if this movie's good, they could do 2 or 3 with her. I mean, it's very possible
for sure. Yeah, for sure. I didn't see that like miniseries that was on Peacock.
I didn't either. The Continental, no, I didn't
Scumbags.
either. We should check that out. But like I said, you've got enough other characters like Halle Berry and Donnie Yen's character and stuff like that are out there that she could interact with these people. And,
yeah, for sure.
He hasn't killed everyone. So, yeah.
So we'll see. Cool. All right. We all watched The Electric State on Netflix.
Yes, we did.
Now, did we talk about it amongst ourselves, or someone said it sucked?
I don't think we...
Or someone commented that it was horrible on Rotten Tomatoes.
No, we haven't talked about it.
I think we talked about the fact that it was getting bad reviews.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah.
I saw like 40 minutes of it before I fell asleep. I was sick, okay? I saw like 40 minutes before I fell asleep, and I remember like watching it thinking, this is not as bad as everybody's saying.
Yeah.
And I wasn't heavily medicated.
Before we give our thoughts on it, though, I want to just throw out sort of the tail of the tape on this. So it's the Russo brothers and their whole crew directed this thing. It supposedly cost $320 million to make. And as of today, it had a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, but a 71% fan score, 4 out of 10 on Metacritic, and 6 out of 10 on IMDb. So other than the tomato meter itself, it's like right up the middle. It's not unanimously hated or unanimously loved.
Exactly. And I also wonder how many people have just not given it a shot because it was so slammed. Because,
I wonder about
this too. This is the problem with the world that we live in right now. The critics are coming out ahead of all this stuff and saying how terrible it is, and then it has to crawl back and get an audience. I mean, the travesty of what they did to Kraven the Hunter, which is clearly one of the best films of the year. Sorry, I can't even do that with a straight face. But
thankfully, it didn't need box office. I mean, if it was going to live or die based on its box office, they'd be in big trouble.
Been utterly crushed.
I agree.
I do not think this is a bad film. I don't think
it was fine,
great.
and it was fun.
It's not great, but it's fun.
It was very good. It wasn't the greatest movie ever, but it was fun.
But
it was a fun movie.
It is. I don't get the 15%.
That's what I'm saying. I don't, and that's why when I say not bad, a bad film, 15% is a very bad film.
15% is like the dregs of films.
Yeah. Right. 4 out of 10 on Metacritic is pretty low.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying
I thought it was of the big budget made for streaming movies. It's better than most. I mean,
and when you hear $320 million, I actually felt like I saw a very, very large budget. Like,
yeah,
the effects were
that
seamlessly done.
Ridiculous.
It is.
And,
but visually, it was perfect. Like, you didn't see any seams. You didn't see any flaws. You didn't see that they filmed the
for that kind of money, all those robots are real. They built all those robots, right? They had to. I mean,
I actually watched a bunch of behind-the-scenes making-of stuff today because I was curious if it was stop motion or what they did, and it was mostly motion capture. But they did a different kind of motion capture where they actually put accelerometers on the motion capture suit, so they don't only get the performance, but that you get the weight. A little bit more weight than you would just straight up motion capture.
This was, I'll tell you, it was clever in a lot of ways. I love how they basically established that this was an alternate universe, and they used MTV News because it's like that's what
and
they
Kurt
could do
Loder.
for that era.
Gotta love Kurt Loder's voice factor.
Got Kurt Loder in there, and they again it was clever how they set it up and how they did it. I don't know anything about the book that it's based on, but it's
in some of the behind-the-scenes stuff I watched. They were showing frames from the graphic novel, and
it is a graphic novel. Okay,
it's based on a graphic novel.
They refer to it as a book. Okay,
yeah, it's a graphic novel.
I haven't seen it. I'll look that up.
And they lifted a lot visually. I mean, very, very, very closely visually to
they
style
should have,
of the
because
graphic novel.
There's a lot of art design went into this, and the characters were the robot characters were really integral to it. Did you ever get like a Ready Player One kind of thing?
Totally.
There's a little.
I kind of felt like at times this worked better than that, because I actually cared about who some of these robot characters were. In Ready Player One, it was just this kind of
it was almost just throwing
everything was just
stuff
being
at
crammed in together. It was just a visual.
To me,
hodgepodge.
The corollary was more with the fact that there was a virtual reality world that people had basically just put the helmets on and given up everything else. And that was very much Ready Player One also.
Yeah. Here I found that, like, when the robots that we knew and I don't say identified with, but knew and when they fell, you were kind of like, I was feeling bad.
You were rooting for them, yeah.
In Ready Player One, it was just more characters getting knocked off the board.
Yeah, there wasn't any stage.
You didn't have that kind of.
I mean, the Russo brothers do a good job building characters.
They really do, and
they used that first 10 minutes or so to establish the world, so that you knew what you were never sitting there going, "Wait a minute, I don't understand." Like they did a great job of world building in the first 10 minutes of the movie, so that
how about hang the entire robot thing on Walt Disney?
That was pretty funny.
But I get it in that it takes place in the 90s, and somebody else who would have done this, you're like, wait a second, what the hell's going on? But they really, in a very short amount of time, like you said, 10 minutes, like, here's what's going on. This is everything you need to know. And did a great job with doing it. I really don't get these crappy review. I mean, I'd give it for a streaming movie, 7.5.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid 7.
That's exactly where I'd be. I'd be between 7 and 7.5. Some of it looked 90s. I mean, her hair looks terrible. His hair looks terrible, but they look like people from the 90s.
But even all of the collectibles
90s,
that were in Chris Pratt's little cave,
oh my God, were great.
So 90s.
The
it was perfect.
Big Billy Bass things.
The Beanie Babies, the Cabbage Patch Kids, like all this stuff. It was perfectly, timed. There was another visual
she did
reference.
A really good job too.
She was great.
Mm-hmm.
She's a good actress.
She did it. She was totally fine. And he was also great. And again,
I mean, he's. I mean, with her, it's like, is she a one? I haven't seen like her Sherlock Holmes thing or anything else, but she's actually real. I mean, here she carried a big movie.
She did. And in the behind the scenes stuff, they show you she's filming half the time with nobody there, and half the time they had a little person in a motion capture suit that was doing all of the acting for the brother robot. So she had somebody to act against for a lot of it, but a lot of it, she said everything was done twice. Everything was done with the person there and then without it. And she did a good job.
No, yeah, she's good.
Todd, was there another visual reference to or the robot, the soldier robots? Did they remind you of anybody?
The soldier robot
with the little face,
with
the screen,
with the
face?
helicopter things.
I was thinking
like
Prince Robot from Saga with the TV screen on his head.
I did see that if they'd flattened the face out a little bit, yeah. But the snout.
I mean, his screen was bigger, but
it was bigger and it was more like a TV. It was a TV.
Yeah,
and,
I thought it was, kind of inspired by that, though.
Boy, I hope Giancarlo Esposito got a great check for sitting in a chair, just recording onto a. I mean, he could have made this movie during COVID over Zoom.
He's in everything. Jesus,
he's in everything, but he also did a really good job.
He was redeemed at least in this. He wasn't just a straight up
character.
Yeah, he wasn't just a straight bad guy.
To be a good character on a 6-inch TV screen, is a tough lift.
I thought that the robot designs were really good too. Like obviously the ones that were based on advertising characters or whatever, you knew what they were going to look like. But some of the other ones,
Peanut
I thought
is funny, Mr.
Yeah, and Woody Harrelson. It took me a little bit to recognize the voice.
Yep.
But
I was wondering. I was trying not to start looking up what cameos are in there for voices.
I heard his voice after a while.
His is it Herbie? What's his
Hermie?
Herman.
Is that Herman. Anyways, that was Anthony Mackie.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't.
And but I thought that was great too. The fact that he just I don't know if you called the last thing when he was they're dying. I said to Karen, I said, "Oh yeah, his head's going to split open."
They're not. They couldn't kill all of them. That was funny.
Even a smaller one's going to come out, and it was great, and I was happy with that. I would buy a figure.
Yeah,
of the
that
small
scene
one.
got awkward for half a second.
Yeah,
but in a good way.
It's just like, yeah, and then that was. I'm the 8-inch model.
I enjoyed. I mean, even Ke Huy Quan, I thought was really good. Like I thought everybody was really good in it. Like they had a really good cast for the human live actors.
Nobody in this was nobody. I mean, it's basically everybody. They got even digging up Jason Alexander.
It's
like and Stanley Tucci played a good bad guy. I thought
he played a very. He's
very
good.
It's so funny he's in there. I think he's in all three. I know he's in the Citadel. He may be in the others too. I don't know.
Yeah, he's good. He's always really good. Again, like I said, I thought all the humans were great. I thought the robots were great.
Yeah, I thought the use of music was really good. Alan Silvestri did the soundtrack. He's the guy that did the Avengers soundtrack. I mean, great. It was great.
You can't knock the visuals in this at all. I think this is, like I said, it's not the story may not be what people want or expect, but I don't know. I kind of feel like if this movie came out in like 2005, it would be an astronomical hit. I think critics are so jaded right now, and they're prepared to pre-jade audiences. I don't see how you get a chance with something like this. But I think it's terrific.
Well, when you look at the scope and scale of the effects work that was done on this, I mean, just as a fan of that kind of stuff, when you look at it.
When did you guys watch? When did you guys watch?
I watched it last night.
I did
Saturday night.
I watched it last night, and I was still thinking of stuff today. And I was thinking, it's rare now that I watch something that's still processing the next day. I think they did a good job. I think
it was good. I don't get where these people are coming from. These critics getting hung up that it's $300 million. I think that's a ridiculous amount to spend, particularly on a streaming movie, but who cares? Yeah. For my $135 Netflix thing, I got the same, it doesn't matter. You get the same,
we've talked
you
about
pay
that
the same no matter what they spend.
We're just as much to blame. Like everybody gets hung up on the budget, but who cares? If Netflix is willing to spend it, what do we care? We got a better movie.
Okay.
Yeah. I was telling Mark about it. He didn't watch it. He was out, and I'm like, "Oh, you should check this out. It's fun." And he's like, "Oh, it cost $320 million." I'm like, I didn't even think about that.
Why?
When I was
that's what I'm saying. Why are we? What do you care? That should not be the we who are not writing the check, other than to Netflix once a month, should not be looking at a film like this and saying, "Oh, is that really worth what they spent on it?" I mean, that is not an objective way to. And this is how the internet really screws up shit. We should not be looking at these things and assessing them based on that. We should be looking at them and assessing them based on how it makes us feel, what we think, whether we like the characters, whether it was relatable, whether we felt good at the end of it, or walked away with something, and not like we shouldn't be looking at this and saying, "Oh, this is not worth the money they spent." It's a ridiculous rubric to apply to an audience.
It's a fair input when you're evaluating something after the fact, and if you hear a huge number like that and you can look at it and say, wow, I don't know where they spent all that money, or boy, that was a disaster, the studio lost a lot of money. But to just say, oh, I'm not going to watch it because it cost a lot of money, that makes no sense to me.
Exactly. Well, that goes back way back to the 80s with Ishtar. Ishtar was like one of the most expensive movies. Cost $50 million, and it was a flop. All the news was cost so much. Meanwhile, if you've ever watched that movie, it was this fine sort of buddy comedy.
Yeah.
If you took that story out of it, you're like, that's a decent movie. It was funny.
Yeah.
That's been going on forever.
I think it actually started with Heaven's Gate, where they were talking about the cost before the film came out, and I think it's been ever since then. They were looking for the next one to rag on with that, but and again, watch the movie and then dig into the financials. If you're not an accountant working for Netflix, you should be able to enjoy this film.
But I said this before, I'll say it again. Regardless of how much I spent on it, I thought the visuals were seamless. Like, there were some epic battle scenes with gigantic robots, and none of it ever looked bad. Like, it all looked really, really good, I thought.
I watched it on a big screen. It looked perfectly fine.
The stuff with the helicopter packs and stuff like that was so well done. And when they were dropping, and when they were like grabbing them and using them as like weapons against themselves, stuff like that. It just
when he took the one and was chopping a guy up with the helicopter, that was awesome.
He was using the helicopter blades as a weapon. It's like
there were some really good visuals in this too. Like when they were standing by the windows, and all of a sudden the car started flying into the
car was fantastic.
Yeah, it's all really, really well done.
If for some reason, whether it's reviews or budget, you have not seen this, watch it. It's fun.
Yeah, definitely. That's check it out.
If they spend $1 or $1 billion, it doesn't cost you a cent more to watch it.
It's not matter. Why your Netflix bill went up. Again, it was fun. So much better than expected. And again, like I said, I was I COVID last week, and I started watching it, and I'm dozing off watching this thing, and I'm thinking, this isn't the movie they're talking about. And I had the same.
You get it in your head that it sucks,
right? And that's what I'm saying. And it really is. It's very, very easy to go in with a negative impression of this film, and pick it apart based on somebody else's perception.
When you texted me that,
you should watch Madam Web.
You really should.
No one thinks Madam Web is good. Okay. So
I won't say it's good, but it's not as bad as it's getting made out to be.
I am sure of that, but okay. The difference is audience score and critic score, and those things are not that far apart. On this, there's a huge gap.
No, that's fair. But when you texted me and said that it was not that the first 40 minutes you saw before you went into your COVID coma was not nearly as bad as you thought. That was high praise to me coming from you. So
me
that
too.
actually made me excited about watching it.
Because again, like I said, we watched this thing because we were like, yeah, we should do it. We should, and I came in very prejudiced against this film. I really thought that this was going to be a total stinker, and it's not. It's not the best thing ever, but I could see kids watching this and then wanting to see it again when they're grown up. I mean, this movie could have some staying power.
And I was actually watching it also thinking about, and I don't think they'll do it, but the action figure potential off this movie. If they made figures of some of those robots, I'd want them.
I would too.
You could get Hermie or Herbie or whatever, and there's like 6 of them coming out. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that would be really cool. Also, you got to give it to Planters for selling, letting them, use that character.
And
I love how they get into the peanut mobile.
The peanut mobile was brilliant, and it's like, how smart was that?
I liked the puppet show robot too. I thought that was really interesting, unique design, right?
And again, I do want to check out the graphic novel now because I said I thought it was a book, and I was picturing
the pitching machine baseball robot was really cool. The mail robot was cool.
He was great. The mail robot was terrific. All this stuff, and it's just they built a really well realized world, and it just, like I said, the whole thing worked. And
did you see who did the voice of that Kid Cosmo robot?
No, I did not. I don't think I did.
Alan Tudyk
I don't remember.
did it. Alan Tudyk.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what
yes.
he did, because he was like down the bottom of the credits, and it was Alan Tudyk.
Yeah,
Alan Tudyk. So it was like,
I think he might have done a few things, but he's credited as doing the voice.
That's what I think, because he was, like I said, he was he was basically under additional voices.
Yeah.
So that means he did multiple things too. But no, it was, like I said, it's just watch just don't listen to what people say other than us. Watch it and form your own opinion. And
yes,
that's what people have got to start doing, because it's really easy to tear stuff down. I think there's been a number of things in the last few years where they've just been utterly crushed by critics before they came out, and they may not be 9s, okay, but a solid 7.5 is worth watching, and even a 6.5 in a lot of cases is worth watching. And the Marvels, I'll give an example of that. That is a much better film than the critics.
That got abused for no good reason,
right?
Yep, and it's not an Ant-Man. It's not an Ant-Man 3. It's actually
it's not Rebel Moon either. It's way better than Rebel Moon.
Oh my god!
And that's the other thing too. It's
money.
like I hate to even bring that up, but you could have made Rebel Moon 2 and 3 instead of this film. And this is like I said, I think one of my concerns here, and I think it's people want to see the Russo brothers fail. Okay, they'd really like to say, just because, and then they can start casting doubt on the next Avengers movies and say, is there, all this behind them and that kind of stuff, because that's what, gives them column inches on the internet. I think they did a fine job with this.
They did. They developed characters. You cared about them. They told a story that made no sense in our timeline and explained it very quickly. Yep. Yeah, they did what they do. So, yeah. Let us know what you think. Watch it if you were avoiding it.
Yeah, give us your feedback. We'd love to hear it.
We should watch Craven for next week. Has anyone seen it?
Oh, no.
I have not.
I have not.
It is universally considered to be the worst of the Spider-Man adjacent films, including Madam Web. So,
really?
I'm curious.
Let's watch it.
I cannot benchmark it against Madam Web because I have not watched that, but I did sit through Morbius and at least one of the
Venoms.
I've seen all the Venoms. They're fun.
I haven't seen any of the Venoms. People say they're pretty good.
They are fun. Yeah. They're not good, but they're fun.
But next week, Craven. Everybody.
Maybe.
Unless we come up with something better.
I know, streaming. But if I've got 2 hours, I'd rather watch 2 more episodes of Andor.
You'll sit on your phone and look at something for 2 hours. That's a waste of time.
Yeah.
All right.
People, if there's an epic Daredevil episode, we may have to put off Craven. But in the event that doesn't happen,
everyone, we're going to watch Craven.
In the event that doesn't happen, it does not happen. Yeah. So.
All right. Well,
I'm going to psych myself up for that.
We got that to look forward to.
We do. Okay. Well, this could very well be the first show that's not over an hour long in a very long time.
Yeah. This is good.
Because we
got
which is fine.
Got to keep the audience guessing. Sometimes they're long. Sometimes
that's right.
You get more for your money.
Some
of
the time back that we took last week.
It's just like the series on the streaming services. This show is as long as it needs to be.
That's right.
Sometimes much longer.
Yes. Sometimes way longer.
Well, Dave, we just added a second sponsor, so that's 2 minutes right there. So it's
there
just,
you go.
Yeah. So,
well, okay. So go see The Electric State or go watch it. You're paying for it already. No big deal. And what else? Andor coming up soon. Something else was coming out. Oh, there's the Studio on Apple with
Seth Rogen, right?
Seth Rogen,
yeah.
That seems interesting. Did any of you guys watch? What was that one about the making of a superhero movie? That was awful.
I watched it. Yeah, I watched all of it.
Did you watch the whole thing?
You watched the whole thing? I bailed after like 2 episodes.
I watched the whole thing. It was very, very dry comedy, which I sometimes like, so I didn't mind it. It wasn't good. It was fine.
Good.
It was fine.
This I'm
just
curious
like
about.
Karen was no. Fine is better than that. Karen was watching it, and I kind of like watched her watch it for like 10 minutes. So I was just like,
I'd rather watch her watching it than watch it.
It was kind of like, liked about
I don't need to. I was just like, I was in the middle, and I'm watching it. I'm like, I know what this is. I don't need to watch it.
It's just looking to bash Marvel.
That was totally how I felt. Like I was like,
and it was awful.
Yeah, this is.
And I didn't take it as Marvel bashing as much as I enjoyed the other perspective on it, which was, oh, so that's how they do some of this stuff. Because they were showing you how they actually film some of that stuff, too.
But I think the movie they're making in the thing was just hokey. Very hokey.
There was some funny stuff in there, though. I will say there was some funny stuff. Like, there's a whole episode about blowing up a bridge and how they have to do it a certain way, and they have to be very careful not to damage any of the, indigenous creatures and all this stuff. And there's the bridge that they're blowing up was going to be blown up anyway, but it's near this other bridge that is a national landmark, and they blew up the wrong bridge, which was pretty funny.
Yeah. Okay.
And killed all of these creatures they were supposed to be protecting.
Oh, God. Barry, how are you doing on Invincible?
Oh, I'm making my way through it. I think I'm up to 5 or 6. I'll be done with it by the weekend. So that's the other thing.
I've got to done.
Yeah, it's been fantastic though. Holy crap!
It's so fantastic, good. And I'm telling you, just we just got to talk after 8 because,
Okay.
Something that I've wanted to see for a while. A good while happened, so it's good.
I'll stop Todd before he spoils.
I'm not going to spoil it.
The president dies. Invincible dies. 20
Dave,
minutes.
You will when we finally talk about this, you will understand. So,
okay. Do what we said. Watch Craven, and thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.